I want to ask you something before I start. If you saw something on a camera, something that shouldn't be there, would you tell someone? Would you call the police? Would you even believe your own eyes? I did all three of those things, and none of it helped, because what I saw on that camera wasn't just in my neighbor's yard. It was everywhere, and one of the things I saw was me, standing somewhere I had never been. At a time I was asleep in bed. I don't have an explanation for that. I'm not sure I want one. This is what I saw. My neighbor asked me to watch his house for a week. He was going out of town. Family thing. He gave me a spare key. Told me to water the plants twice. Check the mail. Nothing complicated. Before he left, he showed me the security app on his phone. He had cameras set up outside the house. Front door. Backyard. Driveway. He added me as a secondary user, so I could check in remotely if anything looked off. I didn't think much of it at the time. Just a precaution. The first 3 days were completely normal. I watered the plants, collected the mail, glanced at the app once or twice. Nothing to see. Empty driveway. Empty yard. The fourth night, I got a notification. Motion detected. Backyard camera. 2:51 a.m. I opened the app half asleep, expecting a cat. Or a fox. Something like that. The backyard was empty. Just a lawn. The fence at the far end. The old oak tree in the corner. Nothing moving. I watched the footage for 30 seconds. Saw nothing. Went back to sleep. The fifth night. Another notification. Same camera. Same time. 2:51 a.m. I opened the app again. This time I sat up properly and watched carefully. The yard was empty again. Lawn. Fence. Tree. Nothing. But something about the tree looked different. I couldn't figure out what at first. I rewound the clip and watched it again. Then I saw it. There was someone standing behind the tree, partially hidden by the trunk, completely still, just standing there in the dark, facing the house. I sat there staring at my phone for a long time, trying to convince myself it was a shadow, a trick of the camera, the motion detection picking up something blowing in the wind. But the more I looked, the more certain I became. That was a person, standing behind my neighbor's tree, at 2:51 in the morning, watching the house. I called my neighbor immediately. No answer. Left a voicemail. Sent a text. Then I called the non-emergency police line and told them what I had seen. They said they would send someone to check the property. An officer came within the hour, walked the yard with a torch, found nothing. No one there. No signs anyone had been in the yard. The officer told me motion-activated cameras pick up false positives all the time. Shadows from passing cars. Light changes. Insects flying close to the lens. He was polite about it, but I could tell he thought I was overreacting. Maybe I was. I checked the yard myself before going to bed. Empty. Locked the gate. Double-checked the fence line. Nothing. The sixth night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there watching the app. Waiting. 1 a.m. Nothing. 2 a.m. Nothing. 2:45 a.m. I sat up straighter. 2:49. 2:50. 2:51 a.m. Motion detected. Backyard camera. I opened the live feed immediately this time. Not the recorded clip. The live feed. The yard looked empty at first. Lawn. Fence. Tree. Then I looked at the tree more carefully, and my stomach dropped. There were two of them this time, both standing behind the tree, both perfectly still, both facing the house. I called the police again, told them there were two people in the yard right now, live. I could see them on camera. They said they would send someone. I watched the live feed while I waited. Neither of them moved. They just stood there, side by side, behind the tree, watching the house. The police arrived 11 minutes later. I watched on the camera as the officer entered the yard through the side gate, torch sweeping across the lawn, toward the tree. He stopped at the tree, looked around it, shone his torch behind it. Then he looked directly at the camera and shook his head. Nothing there. I was watching the live feed the entire time. I saw him enter the yard. I saw him walk to the tree. I saw him look behind it. And I saw what was standing directly behind him that he couldn't see. There were two of them standing directly behind the officer, less than a meter away. He had walked right past them, shone his torch right past them, and hadn't seen either of them. I called him immediately, told him to look behind him, right behind him. He turned around, looked, shook his head again. Nothing there, he said. I was looking at the live feed. As he said that, they were still there, both of them, standing right behind him. He came to the front door a few minutes later. I showed him my phone. The live feed. He looked at it for a long time without saying anything. Then he asked me if the camera had night vision issues. Interference maybe. Old firmware. I told him I didn't know. It was my neighbor's camera, not mine. He left shortly after. Told me to call back if I saw anything else. Told me to keep the doors locked. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my neighbor's couch with every light on and watched the app until morning. The yard stayed empty for the rest of the night, or at least it looked empty. I wasn't sure anymore what empty meant on that camera. My neighbor called me back the next morning. I told him everything. The first night, the second night, the police. What I had seen standing behind the officer. He was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then he asked me something strange. He asked which tree they were standing behind. I told him, the big oak in the far corner. He was quiet again. Then he said something I still think about every day. He said that tree wasn't there when he bought the house. It had just appeared one summer, fully grown. He had asked the previous owners about it. They said they didn't know where it came from either. They had just woken up one morning, and it was there. I didn't know what to say to that. I don't think there's anything to say to that. He came home 2 days early. I met him at the door and gave him back his key. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept either. He didn't say much, just thanked me for keeping an eye on things. I asked him if he had ever seen anything strange in the yard before. He looked at me for a moment. Then he said yes. Once, about a year ago, he had woken up in the middle of the night and looked out the bedroom window and seen someone standing behind that tree, facing the house. He had gone outside to check, found nothing, told himself he had imagined it, hadn't thought about it since. I asked him what he was going to do. He shrugged, said he didn't know, said maybe nothing. Said some things don't have a solution. You just learn to live with them. I haven't been back to his house since. He texts me sometimes. Normal stuff. How are you? How's work? Nothing about the camera. Nothing about the tree. But 2 weeks ago, he sent me one message that wasn't normal. No context. No explanation. Just this. There are 4 of them now. I haven't slept properly since I got that message. I keep thinking about that live feed. The officer walking right past them. Torch sweeping right through them. Not seeing anything. And I keep thinking about something else too. Something I didn't tell the police. Something I didn't even tell my neighbor. On that 6th night, while I was watching the live feed, while the officer was standing in the yard, I switched to the front door camera for just a second, just to check. There was someone standing outside my neighbor's front door, facing away from the camera, perfectly still, and standing right next to them, looking directly up at the camera, was someone I recognized. It was me,